You are not your emotions. This is something that I come across with new agents a lot, and being able to have control of your emotions and ultimately detach from an outcome when you are navigating a real estate transaction will bring you inner peace. And as agents, we deal with a lot of emotions. We are helping people that are navigating one of, if not the most expensive transaction in their lifetime. So it brings out typically the worst in people. And that's not to say that there won't be smooth transactions. There will, and they are a blessing. For the most part, though, people are stressed out. They're dealing with a lot of unknown, and that comes out in the form of emotion, sometimes against their agent, even though most of the time I don't think they mean for it to be that way. And because of that, as agents, we need to be able to always be in control of our emotions. Emotions are feelings, and feelings are not forever, they're fleeting. So when that deal crashes and burns, you really cannot allow yourself to feel anything other than that just means it wasn't meant to work out. And I say the same with clients of mine on a regular basis because we're in such a competitive market and have been for years that I prepare them early on that, listen, you might have to write a couple offers in order to secure a home in this market. And that doesn't mean that you should get sad or you should feel down or feel like anything has gone wrong. It just means the next house, the house that you actually get, is the right house. It's going to be a better house. And I have seen that play out time and time again. We all have these plans in mind, and sometimes plan A does not work out, and we can't react to it. As agents, we need to be the shock absorbers for our clients and for ourselves too. Being able to maintain your peace as an agent will, in my opinion, not only dictate how long you remain in the business, but it will also dictate how successful you are. Because if you are constantly reacting, which a lot of agents are, and not maintaining an even keel and having control over your emotions, you are always going to be on this roller coaster. Real estate is a problem business. There are always going to be problems that come up in a transaction. Some, of course, are going to be worse than others, but there's always going to be some type of fire that happens in a transaction. And as an agent, if you can remain in control of your emotions, life will be so much more enjoyable for you. And you will go so much further because you aren't going to be wasting time feeling down about a transaction that fell apart. And this doesn't mean that you don't care. It means that you care. You absolutely can give yourself that time to grieve whatever happened and feel what you're feeling, but you cannot let your clients know that that's what you do. You can never show that to them. And you also want to make sure that you are not going days on end feeling sorry for yourself or feeling angry that another agent was nasty to you or angry at the appraiser for appraising a property low. There are so many negative emotions that can come out during a real estate transaction. And having that emotional intelligence will really help you throughout your real estate career. And this is not something that I learned overnight. It took me years to get to this point. I remember a transaction in my second year of real estate where the client was verbally abusive, and I didn't have the confidence to fire them at that point. Nowadays, I probably would have never started working with them, but that's a story for another time. The transaction was going sideways because this buyer simply didn't listen to anyone. He did what he wanted when he wanted. He had great credit, had great income, but still, when you're under contract, you need to keep your financial profile consistent. You shouldn't be going and charging 10 grand on a credit card, which is exactly what this buyer did, not once, but twice. and then proceeded to get extremely angry with me and the lender because, of course, the lender then needed that credit card paid off and had to do a credit supplement showing that that had happened in order for this to actually close. And it ended up delaying closing by 4 days. And the reason I'll never forget it is we worked together for a couple months, but that entire 4 days, and it was really longer, but it was just really intense with the 4 days when we were waiting to get the card paid off and get the documentation, all of which was created by him. Every single day, I was waking up completely stressed out. This was all I could really give my full attention to, which is ridiculous because then I was not only miserable in my personal life, but I was also just constantly distracted, even when I was trying to help other clients. That was all on me, though. Yes, he was difficult. Yes, he was creating problems and really obnoxious to work with, but he's not in control of my emotions. I'm in control of my emotions. And I think the longer that you're in real estate, the better you will get about detaching from your emotions. But I also think that it's something that you have to start working through early on because it really doesn't matter if it's a buyer or a seller. At some point, you're going to be put in a position in a transaction where you have to remain in complete control of your emotions so that you aren't fueling a fire that's already burning. And it's not always easy to do because we get sometimes spoken to poorly. Sometimes we get blamed for things that are completely out of our control. And within that, it can cause you to want to react emotionally. But real estate agents cannot always be in a form of reaction mode. And I'm not saying there aren't going to be times where, yes, you need to react quickly and solve a problem ASAP. And I fully support that. But for the most part, reacting as a real estate agent is not going to serve you well. If you need to take a deep breath, if you need to say, let me give you a call back, if you need to do some breathing exercises to get control of your emotions again, by all means, do that because you will thank yourself later that you didn't fire off that email that you wrote when you were pissed off at a lender or even your client and would give anything to hit the unsend button on it. What I do a lot of times, and I really learned this earlier on in my real estate career because it's very rare that I work with a client now who I don't truly have a deep, meaningful rapport with. But occasionally, one or two will still, I will say, sneak past me where I didn't see the red flags when I was doing their consultation. And I actually have one of those that I'm working with right now who causes me to pause and take a deep breath and assess the situation before I fire something off that I'm going to regret. And this person triggers that reaction in me because he doesn't listen. And I don't work well with clients who don't listen. My thought process on it is if you think you know more about real estate than I do, we shouldn't be working together. You should find a different agent who you feel that you will listen to because they know more than you do. And I don't have a problem saying that to someone early on, but it gets to be a little too late in the game when you're already months into the transaction and just a few weeks from closing. So once that part's out of your control, then the only thing that you can do is control yourself. And you can control your emotions 100% of the time, but it takes practice, it takes emotional intelligence, and it takes knowing yourself on a deeper level so that you know how to handle yourself internally. And maybe inside you would really like to rip that person a new one, but on the outside, you have to remain calm, cool, and collected. You are the professional. And real estate agents on either side, buying or selling, our emotions do not belong in a transaction. And again, that doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean that you're not super excited for your client on closing day when they finally get to settle and, maybe they lost out on a couple houses. By all means, that's a positive emotion. celebrate with them, encourage them. But when you are in the transaction, navigating problems and putting out fires, emotions from real estate agents do not belong. And quite frankly, it would be much easier to navigate transactions if both agents hit subscribe to that. I can't tell you how many times it hasn't been my clients who are the emotional basket case, it's the agent on the other side. And it really makes for a much rougher ride during the transaction if the agent that you are working with to get to the closing table doesn't have control of their emotions. Don't be one of those agents. Make sure that you are checking yourself and assessing your emotions so that you are not reacting and acting out based strictly on emotion. It will make your life so much smoother. And speaking of making your life smoother, this applies in your personal life too. You cannot constantly react based on how you're feeling in that moment. Because how you're feeling in that moment could last for 5 seconds, it could last for 5 hours, but I guarantee you it won't last forever. And that's the thing about feelings. They're temporary. Your emotions are temporary. They are changing on a regular basis. And you are in control of your emotions. The only thing that you can control is yourself. And that is half the battle in real estate. Not getting upset when something goes wrong, because if you are detached from the outcome and in control of your emotions, you're not going to feel much of anything other than peace. Well, that just means this wasn't meant to work out. On to the next one. And it could be a deal, it could be a relationship in your life, it could be maybe you are trying to get a house for yourself and you wrote an offer and the seller went with someone else. That's okay. It just means that that's part of the plan. Maybe not your plan, but there's a bigger plan. And maybe that is God at work, the universe, really whatever you believe in. There's a bigger power, bigger than any of us. And we have to trust that sometimes things are not meant to work out. It doesn't mean that we need to get angry or sad or have a mental breakdown. It simply means that we need to remain in control of our emotions, I would say at all times. And of course, I'm not in control of my emotions all the time. I am in a real estate transaction. I'm still a work in progress in my personal life. And I think that's the case for all of us. If you are a new real estate agent, though, you really have to invest time into having control over your emotions. You owe that to your clients to be the consistent shock absorber for them. And that doesn't mean you're always going to be able to tell them what they want to hear or you're always going to be able to make them happy. But it does mean that you are always going to be the professional that's not reacting based on your emotions. I hope you got some value from today's video. If you did, drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think of it. And until I see you on the next one, thanks for watching.